and then I will share with anyone who is just joining us after that wasn't at our last session, that we are excited for you to be here for our closing session, our community building experience. If you would like to use the captions, they are running. You can just go down to the Zoom toolbar and click the live transcript or CC for closed caption button. If you do not see that button, it might be hiding under the More button with the 3 dots. And so go ahead and choose that and choose Show Subtitle, and that will show the subtitles on your screen. This is meant to be a community space, and so we would love to have your questions and comments in the chat. We are going to have some thank yous and some other things on today's agenda for our closing session, but we also want you to share your thoughts, your feedback, and everything else. I'm going to hand the talking stick over to my co-conspirator, colleague, and friend, Didem, to kick us off.
Kevin, you're always so nice. Thank you. And thank you very much, everyone, for staying this long on a Friday evening. And thank you very much for making the last 3 days a real success. We had wonderful presentations, discussions, panels, and workshops, and we were amazed by the collaboration took place among the audience during each session. Let's continue this conversation, let's continue this collaboration, and let's remind ourselves every other day that equity is a verb, as our keynote speaker, Dr. Brown said. Equity is taking action, and hopefully this conference has been inspiring for many of us to take action, to make our classes more equitable and inclusive for all students. And we hope you'll share those actions you take with our growing community. This was our first conference, and when we started putting everything together for this conference, we had $0. So I would like to thank our sponsors, CVC OEI, LI Accessibility LTI, Innovative Educators, and Stylist Publishing. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your support for this conference.
And I would like to thank all of the presenters. We had, I believe it was 17 different sessions on the first day, including 2 round robins with a total of 10 poster sessions, 5 or 6 discussions, some of those with panels with 5 people or more. And then today we had 5 workshops in this session. So all in all, it took a village to share ideas from around the world about how we're increasing learning equity in our classes and at our institutions. But we really are grateful for the presenters who not only shared their work, but were willing to be recorded so that we can share that work not only with the people who could attend at a specific time on a specific day, but for all of our colleagues who are now watching those sessions and maybe even this session as a recording. And so, hi, everybody in the future. We're happy that you've joined us as watching this recording. And I'll hand it back to Didem for the next thank you.
And participants too. Like, we had more than 800 participants registered for this conference. That is amazing. And not everyone could make it because of the time differences or because of like working or teaching responsibilities. But we know that we will have a chance to meet with you during our asynchronous conversation, as Kevin mentioned, hopefully.
Well, and as a subset of those participants, we really want to thank all of the students who were involved. We had some students that were involved in creating that video that Didem showed right before our opening panel on the first day. And then yesterday we had a panel of students who helped us really not only hear in their own voices, but witness their experiences. ranging from a student who had a technology glitch, that her camera didn't work and her audio kept cutting out and she had to repeat herself. Imagine the frustration of a class who has to do that every time they're asked to participate in one of your classes. When we have students with all identities, backgrounds, and cultures trying their hardest to convey that they understand, they want to show what they know, and we need to provide those pathways for them to do it. So I was really grateful to have the student view as part of this whole experience. We even invited the Peralta Community College District student newspaper to come in as participants and document what they witnessed, and hopefully they will share it with all the students who couldn't join us, and that will inspire them to come and watch some of the recordings as well.
Absolutely. And I also would like to thank students once more. I don't know how to thank them. In the middle of the semester, towards the end of the semester, actually, they made it happen, and it's really crazy time. And one highlight from that student panel, actually, I would like to share now too. Majority of them said they really miss going back to normal and communicating with their friends and teachers. So maybe this might be kind of like a message for us to create more interactive student-to-student interaction, teacher-to-student interaction, more social presence in online classes too. This was the message we got from our students as well. And I also would like to thank Peralta Community College District and Vice Chancellor Siri Brown for her constant support for Peralta Equity Initiative. And of course, Peralta Equity Team, Peralta Equity Trainers. We have a wonderful team. We are like a family, and hopefully you will join this family. It doesn't matter where you live, where you are. This is an online community, and hopefully you will be part of it. We love to see you, hear from you, and be in touch with you for sure.
And I'd like to thank Didem for starting this off. She came up with the idea, I want to have a global equity community. Let's have a conference. So thank you, Didem, for starting this whole initiative, and hopefully it's something that goes on for years to come. We've already had, before we even had the first day of the conference, people were asking when they can sign up to submit proposals for next year. We were like, let's do this one first. But we are so excited that there's that much energy and passion around creating learning equity. We're excited to make this happen. And next year, we'll do something even bigger.
Hopefully.
So I would say the next part of our agenda here is we want to engage all of you in finding out how we can keep the momentum going, right? So we're going to head into our weekends, hopefully that we'll do something restful, restorative, and something else that starts with R. Get takeout food from a restaurant, I don't know. But we know that we have some different social media accounts that we can use to stay connected with the equity team. But we also would love to hear your ideas about how we can continue the community. And I see Inger's already got her hand up.
Well, I actually raised it before you asked that question, though.
I
just wanted to ask permission from the community here for a minute to pause for a second. And I'd love to tell just a quick story about the Peralta Online Equity community and how we ended up at today, if that's okay.
Please.
So I did this a little bit at the very first, the opening session, for those of you who saw that, which was to talk about how the rubric came into being. But the truth is, one of the things that I found really fascinating about giving presentations about the rubric and telling the story and doing equity trainings and encouraging, talking about instructional design is people constantly look at us and say, how did you create this community? How did this happen at your district? Like, how did this come to be? And one of the things I wanted to just say that Kevin, I'm glad the next lead in is how can we create community, because we at Peralta are unbelievably blessed and fortunate to have a really tight community that's a diverse community with different backgrounds, instructional staff. We're lucky to have Kevin as a consultant, and to build that community and work regularly. And that kind of evolved around the development of the rubric. I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't, but Cheryl, who is here, and Didem, who is here, and you've met some of the other equity team leaders. Corey Hollis was at our first thing. And I really am glad, Kevin, that's what you're going to say, because as Cheryl had said once or twice, and Didem has said, and Chelsea and I have said, the most valuable part of our job is the work we do around trying to advance equity as a core sort of value and structure around teaching, and that building community is really important. So like, I'm looking at all of you here, Kofi and Amy and Wynn, and all of you here at late in the day, or some people early in the morning in New Zealand, and saying, I agree, Kevin, how can we hang on to the community? Because it's a really important and valuable thing. And, you know, there's websites, everybody has a teaching and learning center, and there's classes over here and professional development on equity over there, but really creating community to read each other's work and give each other feedback is so valuable. So I wanted to echo what Didem has said and Cheryl has said, that, and, you know, I've worked at Peralta for 20 years, and by far the most important and valuable and meaningful work is working with a team of folks who are committed to transforming teaching. And as Siri said, because we have so much power as instructors and teachers, so much power, every single thing we do that connects with our students and curriculum development and teaching has so much, you know, potential in it. So that's all I wanted to say. And to Didem and Kevin, thank you for letting me be a really big part of the last 3 days and meeting lots of people and seeing amazing events. But so I'm all about community. Like, I almost want to do one of those screenshots of this picture and put it up and say, look what everybody missed by not coming to the last closing session at our wonderful conference.
And Inger, I would like to thank you too, because this rubric was your and your team's idea and work, right? So thank you so much. So that is brilliant. I can tell. Thank you. So we put social media accounts in the chat box. Please become a member of, or let's say follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so that we can continue this conversation. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime with any questions. Of course, we will have another conference hopefully next year, but in between, we would love to be in touch with you and continue this discussion for sure.
And I can imagine there are a lot of different ways that we can stay in touch, in addition to social media. And so we'll put out a survey next week to get a little feedback about the conference, but also to ask you how you would like to stay connected. And if people have ideas, if they want to throw them in the chat or turn on your microphone and say it out loud, we're happy to take suggestions. We've already heard about Slack channels and community spaces and all that, but really we want to meet you where you already are rather than making you go to yet another online environment. I'm sure a lot of us will be happy to turn our computers off when the weekend begins. And we're grateful that some of our friends in New Zealand spent a Saturday with us, Christina and others. But I'll open up the floor. A LinkedIn group, Felicia says, which is a great idea. That's not hard to do. Keep developing the website. Yes, well, we will. And as soon as we get the captions and transcripts edited for the recordings, then we will post those. We'll make sure that we get all the materials and Google Slides and everything else that we can from each of the presenters, so that you and all of our colleagues, again, watching the recording, can access all the materials. The website address I will pop in the chat in just 5 seconds.
And maybe having a blog and in the website might be good as well, right? We can have.
I wonder if we could do. I'm just thinking out loud. So, you know, I'm tired. excuse me if this sounds ridiculous, but I'm almost like, maybe there could be like a first Friday afternoon equity chat or something, or you could pick a couple different times where we would just show up in Zoom and Felicia could say, look, could you guys look at my syllabus? And Jessica could say, oh my gosh, I have this new assignment. What do you guys think of this? But I believe that transformative teaching doesn't happen in isolation, and we're really isolated right now. And being able to work together, like so much of what was valuable for me over the last few days was seeing things. I'm taking screenshots and writing things down and bookmarking stuff, going, oh my gosh, I got to do that. And I'm trying to get links. So like, maybe we could do some sort of a, you know, Peralta could even host it. We could take turns, Didem and Kevin. Each of us could do like one 90-minute, you know, it could be different times, Friday afternoon, and just call it a, you know, I don't know, not a happy hour because it's not really happy, but like a Friday afternoon get together. And each time people could show up and bring something they'd like to share and get feedback on. I would love to do that.
Inger, I see that everyone in this room loved your idea in the chat box. Yes, yes. And Christina, do you want to say something? You want to add?
Yes, I really love the idea, and especially looking at it from my experiences of managing an online community. There's lots of excitement that is either at a conference or when you've been to professional development, but then afterwards life catches up again. And right now an airplane is catching up here, so sorry for the sound. And so I really love the idea of semi-regular catch-ups where you can meet live, because then I find, sorry, it's almost gone. We can actually take the time rather than trying to fit it in while drinking coffee or tea or before this, before that, and really having that dedicated time, or have a newsletter rather than maybe a constant blog, so that, you know, okay, this thing is coming once a month. I take that time and I'm present and can really take it in.
I like that. And perhaps what we can do is be kind of a hub where this conference is the start, but if people share their things in the Padlet board or in different places, we can pull it all together and create that asynchronous pathway that you suggest, Christina, with some sort of newsletter or something like that. And then a synchronous pathway for people who want that sense of connection with like-minded and like-hearted colleagues around the world. And we'll try to find a way to do it or repeat it so that we can address the different time zones for, we had Zaire and Iraq and Ireland out in one side of the world, and we had New Zealand, Australia, and even the Hawaiian Aleutian time zone on the other side. And not to insinuate that the US is in the middle, but it's time-wise.
Kevin, let's also put Inger's suggestion in the survey too. So let's see. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I was also just thinking, not everybody has a lot of colleagues they can go to. We've been at some trainings at the community colleges where people say, I don't really have another colleague in my own institution that I feel like could give me honest feedback on, you know, a new assignment or a diversity statement or, you know, conversations or discussion boards or whatever. So by creating that possible synchronous connection, people might, you know, I don't know, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so yeah, that's all we wanted to share, right? We don't want to take much of your time. It's Friday evening. Hopefully you enjoy your weekends.
There's a little bit more though.
Oh,
we did want to mention that the sponsors, two of the sponsors offered prizes for participants. And so what we'd like to do so that we can include some of the asynchronous participants in the prize winning is offer some of the prizes to people who were present either synchronously or asynchronously during this 3-day period, and then some for people who are using the recordings as their way to interact with us. And so we'll share the winners of those prizes in our messages starting next week. So if you want to be a winner, you still have a chance. Post an idea on our Padlet board in the community page of the website and attract as many likes as you can. Yes, Christina, the suspense, it is a cliffhanger. And then, as we've mentioned, we will get those recordings up as soon as we can. It will take us some time to edit the transcripts of, I don't know, I would guess probably around 30 to 35 hours of video. And we will put together a survey asking for feedback so that we can make next year's conference even better. And obviously, if you have any testimonials that will help us advocate to do this again with the administrators and leaders of the Peralta Community College District, that will be welcome as well. Wow, Christina, it's, I would say both humbling and I'm not quite sure if you understand how much there is. Yes, we would love help with review of the transcripts, and I'll follow up with you later on that. But let's open the floor. I mean, if this is meant to be a community gathering, so before we close, does anybody have any things that surprise them, things that they're going to take away, relations or new people that you're going to follow on Twitter, anything that you want to share? We'd love to hear before we all part ways for the weekend.
Can I jump in?
Please.
Ah, please.
It's Friday, I'm jumping in. I really appreciated that it was a safe space. You know, I've been talking reflectively with some of my colleagues, and I say, you know, we work and talk a lot about creating safe spaces for our students and creating these things for our students, but I also think for us to be able to do that, and I kind of touched on this in my talk, but for us to be able to do that, we also need to be able to create safe spaces in our work environment for our colleagues and ourselves. And so I will say that I really appreciated that the conference was a safe space. And so there were lots and lots of people and lots of comments and engagement, and everybody's voice was respected and heard. And so I really appreciate that. Like I think these iterative safe spaces that we can share with our students as well as have in our workspaces are so important.
I see a few heads nodding in agreement.
And clap hands.
Other ideas, yes. Anything anyone else wants to share?
I agree with Jess and find it really good that the topic was equity in general in education, and therefore you did not look at a particular technology or particular course, but really had that entire bandwidth, because at least I heard from people that I would normally not have engaged with, like the typography poster, and learning about different writing systems and what to take care of and what to look at in that regard, or how a Russian immigrant teaches Asian American topics in a class. And so that entire bandwidth was fantastic to see, because it is through those incidental connections that I find we can learn a lot rather than just being in our own area all the time.
Felicia, were you trying to share? Are you okay? Just in your own space. My apologies. I saw a mouth moving, and it's often we're on mute when we talk, so I do it all the time.
I've seen Felicia in many of the sessions, and she was great using chat box and sharing, asking questions and sharing sources. Thank you so much, Felicia. Thank you.
Yes, I think we may have to give out a prize to some of the people who attended a session in every time slot. I think we have a few people, and I see some of them here now who were at many of the sessions.
I know.
Inger says she's afraid that everybody's going to try to recruit Vice Chancellor Siri Brown away from Peralta, which is true. That was such a powerful opening remark. I tweeted it as soon as she said it. Equity is a verb. It is. It was beautiful.
It was so powerful. Yes.
Yes, Jess, we will send an email to all 850 folks when the videos are ready to go. I've been breaking them into chunks of 100 because I don't want them to get marked as spam. And I know that some email servers don't like giant batches of 850 emails going out. So gotta be smarter than the box. Other ideas?
I was just going to say that it's been really nice being here, and I'm making connections with some people that I haven't seen in a really long time. And it's fun to be able to see that despite our different pathways, like it would totally make sense that we would be on the same conversation about diversity and equity in whatever way it is. And so that's kind of refreshing. And I was just going to speak to the idea that you all had about meeting versus, or maybe a more traditional kind of online thing. I sort of feel like since there's been, since this summer, at least for me, the amount of information is almost inundating. Like there's so much. And so in some ways, a conversation actually sounds really nice because it would be taken in a different way than having to sort of read and take notes and all of that kind of stuff. And so hearing people's voices and feelings and experiences seems very powerful to me right now.
How would we collect the names and contact information of the people who are interested in something specifically about like a Friday afternoon, a first Friday, third Friday, or I don't know, Monday afternoon, whatever it is? How would we collect, other than the folks that are here that have expressed an interest? I think, Didem, you said maybe there would be a little box they could tick if they're interested in that on the survey, or?
Yeah, and we can create boxes for each of the ideas. So if you want to be notified when we're going to do these first Fridays and get on kind of a shorter email list, then great. If you want to receive some sort of a notification if we put out any aggregation of resources or something like that, so that might be more along the asynchronous line, but we can definitely give people an opportunity to sign up and opt out, because we know sometimes we get busy or just can't take on one more thing. Didem will let you know that I often take on things while I'm doing things. So she and I submitted a proposal for a book chapter while we were organizing the conference.
It was 4 days before the conference, and I made a joke of that to Kevin on texting, like, did we submit a proposal in between all these things?
Yes, Jess, it'll be probably a Google survey. We've been leveraging our Google account for the equity to create the site and share materials amongst the team members. So,
well, I publicly hereby on recording commit to at least initially helping to coordinate a synchronous kind of community building initially. And if I can get a couple of other people perhaps off our team, or some of the people who are here, Nadia, Felicia, you guys were shaking your heads. All we need is a couple people. And look at her, she's like, I mean, you thought it was a good idea, not that you'd organize it, but sometimes if you can get a small group of people started, then you can kind of take turns also, like I'll do November or Friday this date or something. But I will commit to sort of helping launch that initial one. Because that's one less thing Didem and Kevin will not have to do. Felicia's with me. Felicia said she's with me at Inger. Okay, so
there we go.
The two of us will work together to at least start it, launch it.
Love it.
Not own it, but launch it.
Excellent. Well, if there are any other ideas, I'll keep the room open. And I am committed to the concept of creating a Spotify playlist for the conference, even though the conference is over. It'll be for the asynchronous, and it'll have songs related to not going crazy in this world that is.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much again. Hopefully you will have a wonderful weekend and you will have time to process all this information, all these great resources and everything, because we learned a lot for the last 3 days. And hopefully as soon as we can, we will be able to share all the resources and presentations and everything so that you can go back and refer to some resources as well. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next year for sure. But before then, hopefully we'll be in touch. Have a wonderful weekend and have a wonderful semester. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.